Hello and welcome back to the Middle-earth in Mercia podcast. This is episode 11 of our Mercian short series, where we, in the last few episodes, have been going through all the leaks, profiles and rules information that we found across the internet pertaining to the new edition and the War of the Rohirrim Battle of Edoras edition. We've been through all the way through, going from courage and intelligence through to Elrond's new profile. Yesterday we had the Rohan profiles. Today we're capping it all off with the Dunland profiles. As usual, I am your host, Sonny, and for one final time this week, I am joined by my friend and co-host, Ash.
Hi guys.
That's right. He's done 4 videos on the trot and he's still not managed to come up with any kind of original intro for himself. This is what I have to put up with. Make sure you like and subscribe if you sympathise with me. Okay. All right. We've really sort of gone through the meat of all of this in the last few videos. So this one might actually be quite short and sweet. If you want to know the details on intelligence, courage, how the new profiles are laid out, if you want to see how they compare to the Rohan profiles, make sure you go back and check out episode 10 for Rohan, episode 9 for Elrond, where we particularly go through how the profiles are laid out, and then episode 8 if you want to see intelligence and courage, because we will not be back referencing any of that information. Ash, you've seen the Rohan profiles yesterday. What are your feelings about checking out their opponents, the Dunland and / Hillmen people?
Yeah, it's going to be good to see how it compares, because obviously you'd expect like hill tribesmen to not be as good as warriors, but we'll see. Also, we're viewing probably one of the big heroes for Dunland. That it looks like he's going to be the main protagonist in the film. So
that's a good point.
It'll be interesting to see how he ties up against the Rohan heroes.
Yeah, that is a very good point. That we would expect Wolf maybe to surpass Haleth, who we saw yesterday. Who, although we said was a little bit middle of the road, he is a bit of a beat stick, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you go check that out if you don't know what we're talking about. Let's move on to the topic at hand, though. First up on the slate, much like we did yesterday, we're going to start with the Warriors. And this is a brand new profile, because although these chaps will make hearty stand-ins for the Wild Men of Dunland, as they've told us that they're going to have a different profile for that, these are hill tribesmen. Do not misname them. You will cause great offence. So this is a unique stat line. As we said, also, we believe this is from the introduction booklet. They are without any kind of points. So, there's a load of information missing there. And we also are sort of railroaded into only having certain choices. So the end profile in that big book may look slightly different, but we can expect the stat lines to remain the same. So let's get on with this. Move 6, fight value 3, a little bit shocking. Shoot value 4, also surprising. Strength 3, D3. So yeah, they have no armor. Attacks 1, wound 1, courage 7. What was the courage for Rohan yesterday, Ash? It stayed the same, didn't it?
It was a 6, yeah.
It was a 6, so worse than them. And intelligence 8. So these guys really are not working with a lot between the ears. They have a hand weapon. They may also have one of the following options. As we say, we don't know whether you'll be able to pick and choose in the full edition, but they have bow, flaming brand, light shield. Ooh. Light shield and flaming brand. Ooh, very shocking. Spear and two-handed weapon. And then we are supplied with a few special rules. Flaming brand, passive. A model with a flaming brand has the terror special rule when it comes to cavalry and beasts. They also count as 2 models rather than 1 when working out models that are within range of an objective marker. For a generic warrior, there is a lot here. And also they've got hatred of Rohan, which makes sense. Ash, I'm going to hand over to you. Take us through everything. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there is a lot. They've got a bit more flavour, I think, than the Rohan. I think that special ruled hatred for Rohan, I just double checked what hatred was, and the current hatred gives +1 to their wound rolls when fighting in combat against the models with the keyword. So that's interesting that they've got that on there. The fight value as well, same as a warrior of Rohan, which I don't know if that sits well with me. That a hill tribesman is as good as a warrior. But then they are affected by their courage, so that sort of does play into their hands a bit. Interestingly, as well, that we've now got the phrase light shield versus a shield. So does that mean a light shield is going to be +1 to defense, whereas a shield is maybe +2?
Another, if I can interject quickly, another theory is that a light shield allows you to do blocking, but you do not get the defense benefit.
Okay, so you don't get the two. Oh, it allows you to do the 2 rolls in combat, but you don't get the defense. Okay,
that's just as valid a theory as a light shield is one and a heavy and a normal shield is standard. But also opens up the possibility: is there a heavy shield?
Yeah, interest. That would be interesting to see. I think they seems like, obviously we don't have the full picture how much is a hill tribesman going to be, but I think against Rohan they're going to be pretty effective with that +1 on the wound. Interesting that they've added a bit this flaming brand in there to cause terror to cavalry and beasts. So we're already seeing beast, the keyword beast, come into things. So it'd be interesting to see what that applies to in terms of models. And then having the count as 2 models rather than 1 and the objective marker is pretty good. So the flaming brand doesn't give you anything, I guess, in the ways of flavour like an axe would before, but they're sort of bringing in these special rules for certain things that maybe give it a bit more of a theme. But yeah, so interesting profile.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And like, if I can, I know you've sort of been assessing it in the context of this as an individual model, but if I can sort of come in and talk about like on a wider sense, I do think the idea of something like giving terror against this and this, that's very cool. And I think that could be expanded as well. Like, maybe like I would love to see, and I'm really interested to know others' views on this. Imagine if this is, and the fact they've not made this like a generic special rule doesn't preclude it being applied to other things. But imagine if you have a spear wall and they say, if you have ranks, or obviously you would have to define that clearly. Cavalry have to take a terror test to charge your ranks. I would love that, because suddenly, like, you're becoming so multi-level in your positioning as well, and making sure that you have those ranks, and it would thematically make sense.
Another thing that could happen there in that sense is they lose their cavalry bonus if they charge into a shield wall with ranks.
Another good suggestion. Yeah, I just think I know that is adding in complexity, but
going against what we've said on other
no, yeah, but that's not my driver. I'm supporting the idea that the company has said that they would like to decrease complexity. I think as long as, like, that with the ranks, I know it would be complex to implement, but on the other hand, if you make it apply to every army, it just becomes part of your standard learning.
Yeah, if it's a standard special rule, a shield wall, for example, where you get that additional benefit, not just the defense increase, but you also get, if you shield wall in ranks, you get this additional thing against cavalry.
Exactly.
And
the thing with shield wall is really any disciplined professional army in the game that has decent sized shields should have that, in my opinion. Like that you see fighting flanks. I think you could make the game so deep while still retaining simplicity. But that's just an idea. I'd like to know what others think on that. But let's move on, because we're not theory crafting on what we can do with the game. But it does open up the question, could we see more of this? I think that is really, really cool. I can only actually applaud the inclusion of that. And then moving on, the fact that we have two models, counting as two models, that is a brand new concept. And we mentioned it briefly the other day when we were talking about units. Could we see unique characters counting as different ones? Could we see generic heroes counting as different ones? Could we see monsters counting as different values? That would be if we just focus on one for a moment, wouldn't like a monster counting as 5 models on an objective? That would be huge to make them more relevant.
Objective control.
Because
in 40k.
It is crazy when you've got 100-point Mordor troll, and he's against 2 orcs that cost 11 points or whatever, together with their equipment, and the troll counts as less than those 2 orcs.
Yeah, it would definitely negate horde armies on objectives.
Well, I'm not sure whether it would negate them. I think it would just, at the moment, hordes are up here on objectives, and everyone else is down here. I think it would realign them. Yeah, really cool. I like these profiles. Like, you look at that stat line, and they're rubbish. I would use another word, but we've made the decision not to swear. There is a pretty bad stat line. But then you factor in the fact they've got hatred. Like, if we assume the same strength and defense versus the Rohan are D4, D5 with a shield if they're sticking with that. When you've got 3 against 4 or 5, you're wounding them on 5s. But you've got hatred, so you've got +1. So now you're wounding them on 4s. The Rohan are strength 3. These guys are D3. So it's 4s on both sides. So like suddenly they're even on that. And then they've got options. They've got spears. They've got 2-handed weapons. They've got flaming brands so that they can keep 2 people back on an objective and they count as 4. Although actually I think probably more likely is me and my flaming brand boys are going to jump onto your objective at the last moment. Are you going to come and get us, or are we going to stand here till the end of the game and then take it? You
could plant yourself on the objective, and you then got terror against cavalry, so you negate in getting charged late on in the game by sitting on an objective.
Yeah, I think these are great. Literally only thing I would add, and I am just pushing my personal agenda here, is that I think it would be better if it was Flaming Brand has X special rule, and then you could apply this to different things. But I guess maybe this genuinely might be a unique thing because it does 2 things. But
yeah.
But there we go. No, I do think out of the profiles we've seen, this is my favourite by a long way. But, at the end of this video, we will have gone through all the profiles that are going to be included in the Battle for Edoras. So let us know which one is your favourite. It'd be interesting to know if, there's a consensus on that or not. Right, here we go. Our first Dunland hero. We've seen these models for a long time, but we haven't had any inclination as to their profiles. I've gone to the wrong one. I wanted to do General Targ first. So ignore that. You didn't see Wolf. Okay, so we're on General Targ, who is, I've got to say, the most anime of anime heroes we've seen. I do like his horse, though. So he is movement 6, fight value 5, shoot value 4, strength 4, D5, 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 6. Intelligence 4. So he's very similar to Hammer yesterday. Perhaps more of a lover than a fighter. 2 might, 2 will, 2 fate. Man, Dunland, hero, cavalry, unique. Armor, hand weapon, and horse. So he is following the convention we've seen on other human models in that he doesn't have heavy armor, so he's D5. He's got heroic defense and heroic march. So again, a lot like Hammer. Sorry, he is more of a support character. He comes with hatred of Rohan as well. He's got master of battle 4+. Again, sort of signifying him as more of a support character. He then also has the Dunlanding Commander special rule. So when he's alive and still on the battlefield, if you win the roll to choose who has priority. Now, we've done a little bit of a sneaky on you here, because we're here to talk about Dunland profiles. But here is perhaps one of the biggest revelations of all. If you are involved in the never-ending rumour mill on Facebook and Discord and Reddit, you will probably have seen in the past that it has been heavily suggested that what will happen now is you roll for priority, and if you win the dice roll, you get to choose if you go second or first. Oh, I can hear the people with terror in their armies screaming in triumph. A massive, massive change, and this special rule confirms that is the case. Like, there's no doubt about it. Choose who has priority. So, should we talk about that now, or should we put a pin in it? That's so big, Ash. That's so big.
It is a big thing.
All right, let's talk about it right now.
As a cavalry model user, sometimes you get priority and you think, I don't want that. I don't want priority.
Let's put Targ to one side for a second then. Tell us your thoughts on this, Ash. It's massive. It's massive.
Yeah, I think so. Because for me, I can see cavalry models you don't want to go first all the time. Sometimes you want your opponent to make the move. So that is a big thing, that you can be reactive to how the other player is playing, as opposed to forcing. I guess you're forcing them to make their hand first. I think that is a big change, and especially, I guess there is other things, like certain scenarios and stuff, where you would maybe want to go second. If you think maybe you might get engulfed in a charge phase, you can engulf instead. So there's some big positives to going second.
I think it is a big change. The only thing I would say is that we've all had those games where you cannot win a priority roll. And that is going to make that out of the, you can't win a priority roll. You win all the priority rolls and you're splitting them 50-50. Out of the 3 scenarios, there's one really bad one. That the other 2 become better. But that one really bad option is now horrendous. When you can't win that roll, your opponent is now doing exactly what they want. I'm in favour of it, but I do think that is something to consider.
Yeah, I'm wondering as well how it's going to start playing with heroic move, and also it's sort of.
Well, it just remained the same. It would just be as if you had one priority.
Yeah,
I suppose you could still, if you gave it to your opponent, you could still say, "Hang on." I'm assuming here, but I assume you could still say, "Hang on, I would like to still do a heroic move, so I can move first over here."
Yeah. I guess though, why would you do that if you've won priority?
Oh, I could, because I could see it as over here is more important to me, and I want this to happen. But over here, if I can, I
want you to move first.
Yeah, I at least want to make them pay a point to do it or whatever. I do see, but it's so big. And that is probably. I don't think I'm being over the top here to say that is probably the biggest change to the game we have seen in at least a decade.
Yeah, that is a big mic drop.
That will fundamentally change how some games play out. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us on our tangent, which we snuck in.
Our side quest.
I didn't forget that there was an absolutely massive thing in here at all. We did that on purpose. I built it up.
I feel like it was maybe a bit of a anticlimax. Maybe, I don't know. Comment below if you like. Oh my god!
I know. I think
massive leak.
I think for those that are halfway through here, that's a nice inclusion for people who've stuck around to listen. So let's carry on with his rule. Then until the end of the turn, when you've won it, you've chosen it to give it to your opponent. Then until the end of the turn, friendly Dunland warriors within 6 inches of General Targ may re-roll to wounds rolls of 1 when making a strike. I think this is an absolutely terrible special rule for a Dunland army that is designed to fight Rohan, because there's going to be very, very few situations where you're not going to want to get the drop on them. I think.
The
only
I don't know, but if you think about combining this with the fact they've all got a hatred of Rohan, so not only are you getting +1 to wound, you can also re-roll any ones.
So
That's a lot of benefits.
Remember what it's saying though. You only get it when you choose to give priority to your opponent. So the only time that you would ever do that is when they are out of your charge range. That's the only time time you would do it. I want it when I think a good version of this would be when he's alive and you win the roll to choose priority and you choose to take priority yourself, you get reroll ones. That's what I would want.
Yeah, I think that'd be OP though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I just what's the point?
And we're thinking of Rohan as a cavalry force, but that could be changing, and there might be no benefits to them charging in. You could then maybe engulf them on your move and get those benefits.
In the context of the box, I agree with you, but I just think that Rohan is going to remain a cavalry force. That's what we see so heavily in the films. It's what Professor Tolkien wrote in his writings. What would an Anglo-Saxon culture be like if it had progressed and they had access to large amounts of horses and they were interested in cavalry tactics? That's essentially what they are. I think, unless they're just, going mad, I think that's what we're going to see. Primarily a cavalry force, but it will be.
Yeah, I've got a feeling it might change slightly because a lot of the film is depicted on Rohan getting attacked by Dunland, so there'll be a lot more, I guess, fortress battles where they're protecting land and charging out. And
it's a good point, and maybe we will. At the moment it's like 75% horses and a few options dismounted, isn't it? Maybe we will see a shift to it's more 50-50 because you've got War of the Rohirrim, like you're saying. Maybe it's primarily infantry, and then we've got War of the Ring is primarily cavalry.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should probably talk about the actual profile. I think it's all right. I'd need to know the points really. I mean, Master of Battle is all right, but on a 4+, you could wind up it not working the entire time.
Master of Battle is where you get some might point back, yeah? You can use the same
when someone
heroic.
When someone does a heroic action that he has I don't think he can do a strike if he doesn't have strike. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know if I am.
No, you can't.
Yeah. So he's not going to be able to do it in combat. So you're mainly going to be using it for you're going to be using it for moves, aren't you? I don't know. With this profile, I think we can't know how good this is until we know what the points are. It really is one of them.
The courage is an interesting one. Again, a high courage, well, a low courage, I guess. Depends how you look at it. High courage roll needed from a hero is another, okay, that's interesting.
I mean, I think for me, if we're talking near 100 points for this guy, then I'm not really fussed. If he's 70, pretty interesting. I'm just really plucking those numbers out, so maybe they're not that well.
I can't see him being near 100.
Yeah, but even if he's 90, 80, I'm still like, maybe I'll just take a cheap 3 might hero, which, maybe they don't have them. But anyway, that's general.
Maybe not.
That's General Targ. Thank you for revealing the big priority thing to us, General Targ. But we need to know your points until we know whether we're interested in doing business with you. Let's move on to... But that is balanced for the box, I will say that, because a lot of people do criticise that these boxes aren't balanced. I think he's fairly well balanced with Hammer. Both have got a support character. Here we go. On to Wolf, High Lord of the Hill Tribes. He has movement 6, fight value 6, so that is matching him with Haleth. Shoot value 3, strength 4, D5, attacks 3, wounds 3, courage 5, intelligence 5, might 3, will 3, fate 2, armor, hand weapons and horse, challenge, strength, strike, general hunter. We don't know what that is. That's a new special rule for sure. I know that is. And hatred, Rohan. He is also the usurper king. If he's engaged in combat with an enemy hero, he gets to re-roll a single D6 on the dual roll. Additionally, Wolf must re-roll wound rolls of a natural 1 when making strikes against an enemy hero. Yeah, what do you think of this guy, Ash?
Yeah, I really like him. I expected him to maybe be a little bit better, considering he's going to be the main leader of Dunland.
I mean, the only thing, if I was selecting an army that I don't like about him, is he doesn't have March, but you can't have heroes do everything. But it's the fact he's D5 makes him a bit vulnerable.
And that's why I think the theory of maybe it's going to be based on race in terms of the defense.
No, he's only got armor. He doesn't have heavy armor. That's what I meant.
No, but he's D5 with armor. If you assume heavy armor is like the +2 on the base profile, that would mean he'd become a 6, a bit like Halef.
Yeah.
Considering he's like the main leader of a force, other than I guess his dad maybe might be a bit higher, but he sort of seems to be killed off in the film. I'd like to see his courage being a bit higher as well. His courage is less than Halef, so I guess it's only by 1, but it's still, you got to roll that higher courage to pass.
Yeah. I mean, he does have the 3 will, but you would. I mean, everything else about this profile is saying this is a man that is very, very determined. And from what we've seen in the profile so far, I don't think courage 4+ would have been crazy for him. I mean, that's the equivalent of courage 6, isn't it? So at the moment he's got courage 5. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not
a hero and who's probably going to be like the leader of your force.
I mean, let's go back quickly to Targ. Yeah, he only has courage 4. Yeah, they are quite low in general, but maybe that is a shift across the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Elrond had quite high, but he is an outrageous character. He's going to have outrageous stats, but maybe that is a shift that they want to see, because we have played many a game where you sort of break and it's like, well, my heroes are still alive, so it's not really that big a deal, and they've still got, you didn't have magic, so they've still got plenty of will. It's generally not a big deal if you've got even a little bit of bodyguard and a few heroes knocking about. That could be a change that they want to see it break down a lot quicker, Yeah.
Any theories on what General Hunter could be? Is it general in the sense that it's general, or is it general in the sense it's like he's a leader?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a decapitation thing. I think he's got some sort of special rule and that's cool that is a generic rule. Let's champion it when we see. I like it's a special rule. I mean, the Usurper King, I can see, there's a few different things going on there, so it kind of makes sense. Could it have been done with 2 generic? I don't know. But no, this guy certainly seems like a beat stick. I'm like, particularly if Dunland have some cavalry as well. I hope they've got cavalry. I hope they've got an elite's choice. I'm really interested in running this guy and running an army behind him. I think it could be really cool. I like it. You're going to have to be a little bit careful with him on D5. I mean, like, I've got Suladan, and this guy, in terms of defense, wounds, and fate, he's Suladan, but with 1 extra fate. And Suladan it can go like that if you're stupid with him. So, I don't know. I would have liked to have seen him have D6 just because of how important he is. But like you say, maybe it's a faction thing. They're just like, these guys aren't as well equipped. They don't have that sort of heavy armor available. Yeah. Okay, then.
I guess his horse looks like it could be classed as having some form of armor, but it doesn't.
Yeah, that's another point as well.
Interesting,
Standard horse. I'm really interested in the points on him. I mean, he doesn't. How many points do we reckon this would be? So, like, Suladan with a banner is like 100, 110, I think, on the horse. I can't remember exactly. He's got some extra things. So, but yeah, I don't know. It depends how much you value the banner, but I think around 100 points, maybe a little bit north of that. We'll have to see how they rebalance the points, but in the current theatre, I think that would be making very, very competitive choice.
Yeah, I think so.
So maybe as high as 120 then, because Suladan is really good value. At that point, yeah, you're getting a bit worried. But maybe, we don't know. How much is he paying for that horse? We don't know. Has he got a better horse trader than Elrond, and he's getting him for a better price?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
That's it.
I've just noticed one key thing that maybe a key thing might not be in terms of like, are we going to get different Dunland models? It sounds like maybe not, because he's basically proclaimed himself as the High Lord of Hill Tribes. So does that mean Dunland warriors is no longer a thing? That'll be an interesting to see. Are the Hill Tribesmen going to be like the base profile for Dunland now versus like what we had before?
It's really hard to tell, because from what I've read of the lore and what I have as sort of a cursory knowledge, Dunland goes through a lot of different phases. Like there's definitely a phase in their history where they're just as prestigious and they're just as well armed as the Rohirrim. And then there's periods in their history where, they're blooming scraping is it from the film, he says you're scraping a living off rocks. Like, yeah, they literally go that low. So I don't know where exactly this fits into them. I mean, we know Games Workshop certainly had an image of them, there is a wealthy elite and they've got decent equipment, and then there is sort of the hill tribe guys that are a bit different. I think it really depends on how they've gone for it in the film. Have we got that mix? We at least know there's some people that are fairly impoverished and don't have great access to arms and weapons. Because we've seen people that look at some of those spears, like they're pretty rickety, aren't they?
Yeah. One thing we haven't covered as well is potential legendary legions, and just reading like the blurb for the Hillsmen, that when they are led by Wolf, they manage to maybe become a bit more intelligent instead of just mindless rabble of dishevelled barbarians. So maybe a legendary legion rule might come into play where they maybe get a bit of a boost.
Yeah, I am.
Been led by Wolf.
I am wondering whether they will, because we have seen sort of legendary legions. If I go back to sort of the start slide, because we're just talking generic now, we have seen sort of legendary legions in the past where it's like, all right, we do this and we also do this, and sometimes we do this. Like they've got loads of rules baked in. I am wondering whereas like, at least with the 4 profiles we've seen so far of the heroes, it's this dude is for fighting, this dude is support. We've seen that with 4 profiles now. Elrond obviously, does it all because he's very expensive. But could we see less baked in rules to legendary legions, and it's just like, yeah, it adds this thing, and you get these heroes, and that dictates how it plays. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. Like more of the rules for the legendary legion coming from the models that are included in it, rather than a load of extra.
An actual faction rule, and then we haven't what are the faction rules and stuff going to be? Are they going to keep them?
I don't think
we've got loads more exciting stuff we need to see.
If they're looking to decrease complexity, I don't think we'll see a generic Mordor or a generic Rohan. I think it would just be these legendary legion lists.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the excitement of being involved in the game at this time, basically, though, isn't it? Like, we have been lucky with these leaks, wherever they've come from. We'll probably never know, to have this much information at this stage. But the exciting thing is we've got so much more to come. There's so much we don't know. It's impossible to make a judgment on whether this new edition is going to take the game to new heights, or just maintain or crash and burn. It normally winds up somewhere in the middle, but we don't know at the moment, do we, Ash?
No, yeah, and this is hopefully Games Workshop gives us something, or our sources within the web untangle some more leaks.
Well, there is stuff that's come out. We're not going to do a video on it because I don't think for us it justifies doing a 5th one. But if you check out Paints on a 4-Up, I know he has found some stuff where he's going through the construction manuals for this edition. So from this box set, sorry. So stuff is still coming out. More could follow. We don't know where it's come from. Like this person may have 12 months of releases sat in their back office for some reason. I don't know. Or
they might be drip feeding it to us.
Yeah, it could have come from anywhere. We really don't know. Or this could be the last leak we have for the next 5 years. But I'm hoping, to be honest, that we're going to hear an official announcement soon, because this is all well and good and it's fun. But let's get a date. I want to know. Like I've got my wallet here. I'm ready.
Give me some books to read.
Yeah, Ash just wants to illegally download PDFs on the internet. He's not going to support this. All right. That's all I've got. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of 4-part mini series within our mini series. It's been good, sort of really decompressing our thoughts on it. What about you, Ash? At the end of this, are you feeling more amped or less?
No, I'm feeling excited for the new edition. I can't wait to just see what profiles for the models we've got.
Yeah, that is
so we can maybe
big.
Start looking at us play testing some games and learning how it's playing and stuff, and giving our feedback on what do we think is better and worse compared to the last edition. Trying not to, I guess, overload people with leaks, and try and actually get some thoughts on how the game is actually played. So that would be a good thing, is if they could just give us a rule book so that we can go and start having maybe a play around with it and seeing what it's like.
It does make me think, like, the fact we have not had it announced about the armies. Are they going to release this and not bring out the army books? Like, is this going to come out and it's going to sit for... I could see that happening. It's getting a new rules manual. But then, how's that work? You're not going to give us updated profiles when we've got a new rules manual and we don't... They can't do that, can they? But they haven't announced it. When's the announcement coming for the other books?
Yeah. They haven't even said anything. Like, we haven't even had the announcement of when we can maybe even get our hands on a box set. So
I
don't see them releasing a box set and then people having to buy a box set to be able to play the game. But then,
it's a really good point. At minimum, we need to see this box set. We need to see the rules manual separate. We need to see the armies of Middle Earth and armies of the Hobbit, or whatever it's become. I know they've said that the legacy book will not follow, so you will not be able, like, as much as everybody's saying, I can play my legacy army, blah, blah, blah. They have said that the legacies is not coming out at the same time as this. So do not expect to be able to play your legacy armies in January if this comes out in December.
It would be great if we get what they did with 10th and they give us, like, PDFs of the rules, and, like, just the profiles on the app, on an app of some sort, maybe would be good. I guess people probably then go and make like rip-offs of that and don't ever buy the rule book. So
yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, there is a lot. I think the point we're getting at here is there is a lot of information to follow. And as much as we would like to be the ones presenting it, because we enjoy chatting it through with you, we do need Games Workshop to put the pedal to the metal and start giving us some like official information on when things are happening. I mean, maybe it's part of their marketing strategy. I've not worked in marketing, so I don't know. But I'm here for it. I am undecided on the new edition. I am if we were going to, before this happened, do a video on sort of the announcement of the new releases, and to bring things down a little bit. Are we really going to be happy if we just get this release and these are all the plastic models we get, and then it's we deleted all those Dunlanding Forge World expensive models, we deleted all those named Orc expensive Forge World models, etc., and now we're going to replace them with more expensive Forge World models? for me, that isn't a game I'm going to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds reinvesting in. That's a game I will buy this box set, and then I will see what I can do with the models I have, because I'm not happy that I've got 120 quid's worth of Forge World models that I bought in the last couple of years, and they're unplayable outside of Legacies. And I know I'm not even one of the people that are worse affected to that. There's people that bought entire Dunland armies, and it's done. You can't trust that because it's got Forge World on the label that it's going to be good for the next 5 years. That is gone. So
yeah. I think it plays into the 3D printer hands, doesn't it, and the proxies.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to do a 3D printer update, because they are good and they aren't great as well. Like, having lived with some 3D printed models for 2 years now, they are nowhere near as good gaming pieces. They do break. I know there's some people out there that are 3D printing geniuses and they've got great resin and they're getting great results. But the people selling them, they are not making swords when someone's holding it up like that survive for 2 years as gaming pieces. And once they break, they never have the strength that they've had before. I mean, we'll handle that in a different video. But yeah, don't be down in the comments saying buy a 3D printer, Sonny. I'm not interested. I don't have the time.
I've already got one.
Yeah, if you're into it, fine. Like, I do all the servicing on my motorbikes. I'm not suggesting like everybody's solution to servicing being expensive is to like buy thousands of pounds worth of tools like I've got. Like, it's not a solution for everybody. If you're not interested in it, why on earth would you spend your time doing it?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that really has been a bit of a tangent, but it's our last video for a little bit. We'll see what our next content is we get out. Maybe it's a full podcast episode. Maybe it's another short if there's more announcements.
We do have a tournament coming up, don't we, next weekend?
We do. I don't have an army ready for it. I need to do that.
700 points.
I was going to talk to you about it after this. All right. Okay. That's everything from me. Anything to add, Ash? Else we'll say our goodbyes.
Just the usual, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you later.
Yep. Cheers, everyone. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.